Hi, I'm John from Just Whiskey, and this is Henry the cat. Say hi, Henry. What a good boy. And today we are going to be talking about um, whiskey on a budget. Okay, it's January. New Year's Eve is come and gone. Um, it's still a time for reflection and looking ahead in the year 2025. And if you're anything like me, a lot of us are feeling the budget crunch, the wallet sealed up, the pocketbooks clasped shut, and a lot of us are really cutting back for budget reasons and for common sense reasons. Common sense reasons are so many things are getting too expensive. Cost of living, whiskey, scotch in particular. That's what I'm going to focus on. And it's tough to stick to a whiskey budget when you're really passionate, right? But what I did was I used this malt Whisky Yearbook as a guide. It lists every single Scotch distillery in here, including the up-and-coming ones, and many from England and Japan and Ireland and throughout the world. And what I did was I made up a scratch list of wants and not needs, but wants and must buys. So basically, maybes and musts. And I'm trying to stick to it as best I can. But by doing something like this, you can really focus and make your priorities. And you know what? I do believe in moderation. We're not perfect. And so if you need to cheat a little bit, but I think it's good to have a foundation. And if you stick around to the end, I'll tell you what's in my mystery pour here. And this will be probably my next review. Yeah. So I'm John from Just Whiskey. You already met Henry the cat. And I'm sporting my local Chinese Golden Sales t-shirt. Right down the street, nice place in Falmouth. If you're ever around, they're closed for the next month for taking their winter break. But if you're ever around and you want an interesting place to go to, Golden Sales. Okay, so back to budgets. The bourbon bubble has burst. Brown-Forman has just issued news recently. They are going to be closing or cutting back on their cooperage, massive layoffs, massive decrease in production. And even in the Scotch world now, every now and then a warehouse needs to purge itself of over surplus of a certain item, and sometimes it goes on sale for really, really good prices. So when a good deal comes around, I think this year is the year of the buyer's market. Okay, so I'm not going to make this too much longer, but I think it's a useful tool to use the malt yearbook. Go through every single distillery and say, do I need a bottle from that distillery? Do I want a bottle from that distillery? And so my lists of maybes and curiosity are, I haven't tried the new Ardno, but I don't feel like I've heard great things about it, but I just don't feel a need that I have to have it. Ardnamurchan 10, it hasn't come in my ear yet either. If it's priced right, I'm kind of interested in that. I'm also interested in the new Bladnoch 16-year-old. They discontinued the 10 a long time ago. Then they went to the 11. discontinued the 11, I believe, and now they're releasing a Blagnot 16-year-old. If that's priced right, that interests me. Bruichladdich 18 will be a pass, but I am intrigued if they come out with a Port Charlotte 18, if it's mostly ex-bourbon or all ex-bourbon. I would be interested, but last year's price, which was no ex-bourbon in it, is basically it was all wine matured. That retailed for like $225. So again, it's a wish. I'm always interested in an independent Klein leash. They're very rare, far and few between. But if a nice, well-aged Klein leash comes around, I'd be interested in that. I'm also interested in Craig Alecky 13, their special release. They did the X Armagnac, which was the only one they've done. And that was first released 2 or 3 years ago now. So they're well overdue for that. I'm a Craig Alecky fan. So that would probably go on my must buy if and when they do release another special finish. Kilkerran 17 cask strength has just been released. That would interest me depending on price. And the back burner, the new Glenmorangie 18-year-old, the new version of it, I've heard great things. But that's around $160. That's kind of on my, like, if I ever come into some extra money, if I see it at a good price, I might be interested in that. I'd be interested in the Glen Scotia special release batch 1 of the Mermaid. I have one bottle. I'd like to get a backup on that. If I see it, fine. I'm also interested in the Kilchoman Sinead cask strength, but I have 4 open Kilchomans already. Do I need another one, even though I'm sure it's great? Here's where we go onto the must-buy. Every year, Lagavulin 11-year-old Offerman. I always buy 2 bottles, and sometimes more, but one to immediately open up and just enjoy. That would be on my must list. And also to the Laphroaig Carchus. Every year I buy at least one of those. So that would be like on my must buy. And I heard, and I could be wrong, I believe the new Laphroaig Carchus, which will probably come out in a few months, I think it might be a version of the Lore in a Carchus cask strength or close to cask strength version of that. That would be very interesting. I'm also a Longmorn. I have Longmorn 16-year-old. I've never had the 18 or I think the 19-year-old just came out in cask strength. If I see an 18-year-old or the 19 cask strength or a nice independent bottling of Longmorn, I would be intrigued. Again, depending on price. Old Pulteney 18-year-old. If I have a couple bottles of it. It was my whiskey of the year. If I come across another backup at a reasonable price, I would probably pull the trigger. I'm also interested in the new Scapa 10-year-old. I heard, just based on some reviews, there's a 16-year-old and a 21-year-old, but they're very pricey. The 10-year-old, I would be interested, again, if the price is right. As far as Springbank goes, I've kind of given up on the hunt for Springbank. If one comes my way, I have plenty of the 10-year-olds in my bunker, enough to last me the rest of my life. But I'm always interested in the Springbank 12 cask strength. Occasionally, if one of those comes my way, that's something I would probably seriously consider or buy. And then Diageo special releases. Those are my guilty pleasures. I always buy the Talisker. And that's usually the lowest price Diageo special release. So I know if they release another Talisker, which they do every year, I'd be intrigued by that. I've kind of given up on the Lagavulin 12-year-old. It's just way too much money for what it is. in my opinion. And most of the other ones are as well. But that's something. And then Tobermory. I'm a big Tobermory Lacheg fan. I have plenty of backup Lacheg independent bottles. I really love Tobermory 12. If there was some kind of another Tobermory that was mostly ex-bourbon and independent, I would probably... Speaking of that, I haven't reviewed it yet, but I've had this open for a while. Single Cask Nation independent bottling, Tobermory 16-year-old. This will be reviewed in the near future. So by just kind of writing all those, going through this book and writing all these down, I'm not subject to that initial FOMO. I'm actually putting thought into the potential of buying some of these. And you can just tell by me reading through these, most of them, they're not must-buys for me, even though they're intriguing, mostly because of budget constraints and constraints. And most of these are very costly. So really now, for all these maybes and musts, the musts really just boil down to two bottles. The Lagavulin 11 Offerman edition, which I always get. And then the Lefroy Cartridge, if it ends up being close to cask strength lore, I would be very interested in that. And then the Talisker Diageo special release. So really there's only three that are kind of like must-buys. And I guess if Craig Alecky 13 comes out with a special release, that would be a must-buy too. But I found it very helpful, and every now and then something's going to come on the radar that I wasn't anticipating that really piques my interest, like a nice rum or a special deal that I come across that's half price, a liquidation sale. I keep an open mind for things like that. But I am going to be very conscious of what I am buying. I'm going to be retiring in the near future, probably at the end of this year, and I'll be living on a fixed budget. And you really have to watch your pennies at that point. So I hope this was helpful. If you stuck around to the end, I lifted a page from Jeff from G Whiskey, the Mystery Pour, which I will be reviewing probably the end of this week. I've already pre-reviewed this, and this is the 2017 Lefroy 25-year-old cask strength, and it comes in a big, nice white box, but that's what it looks like right there. ABV cask strength, and that is 48.9%. And you can see I opened this in December in celebration of my birthday, and I've been taking lots of notes, and this will be my next review, a full review on Lefroy 25 from 2017. You'll have to stick around for the review to find out what I think of it. Remember, folks, John from Just Whiskey. Like, subscribe, consider becoming a Patreon with a link in the description below. Cheers to you all. Hats off. And take care, folks. And watch your pennies. And dollars, because it makes sense.